This is Smita from K2E Reference. Today we would be just going over a quick intro on Mongo DB. Mongo DB is open source. It's a document-oriented database that's basically very easy to scale and develop. So today we would be just going to discuss on the key features of Mongo DB, and we'll demonstrate how to install it. Probably this would be continued in the next session. We will also see about how you can also create and manage your document. What are the different kind of queries you would be using to work with your Mongo DB. So all these things would be lined up in our sessions. But today, as the start, we would be just taking over an overview of Mongo DB. So Mongo DB is basically an open source document database. First of all, it's an open source document database. What does that mean? Well, a document database is a specific type of a database that's basically based on a document. So there is a data type designed for that. Everything you need to know about a particular entity is aggregated into a single document here. So we will see more on this just a little bit later in this video. I will be just talking about that. Open source means that not only that you can freely download the product, but you can also download the source code. It's like a MongoDB is not sold. It is like, although you can certainly purchase the technical support for it, it's kind of a cross-platform, or maybe I can also say like it's a cross-platform, where you're on a Linux or probably like or a Windows user, you can install MongoDB on your operating system and work in an environment that you're already most comfortable with. So now this is different than some relational database management systems what you might have learned already. For example, Microsoft SQL Server only works on a Windows. So you would have to make sure that you're using Windows to use that. So that's not the case with your MongoDB. So you get to continue working with whichever operating system you're most comfortable with or which you're already having it. So that's the thing what we are referring over here. Now continued with that, as we say that MongoDB is a cross-platform, it's an open source document database. It is classified as no SQL database. So no SQL has been around for a few years. We know that. We have been read or we might have been knowing more about this in a few years as of now. And it is a departure from a traditional RDBMS approach, what we were using it before. First and foremost, we don't have the tables and the columns over here. We don't have a tables that relate to each other using a primary key, foreign keys. We don't have anything as such when you're doing with your MongoDB. We don't use any SQL, that's basically a structured query language, to communicate with your database or maybe to pass on some information to your tables or to fetch a record from your table. You don't have to do all these things through your SQL. It uses instead a document data model. And as I already mentioned, a document is a single aggregated that brings together all the information relevant to a particular entity. Each record itself is a document. Now, if you look at somewhat a kind of example which has been, maybe I would just take you through over here, an example what you can see over here, which says that it's basically a single document. We have their name, their age, their employee type. Now, of course, our employee document might have a great deal more information than this. For example, you might be having a phone number, office, or related to his email, or hire date, or educational background, or a current pay rate. It can be anything, any of the sort of things. But the important point here is all this information is there in a single document. So if you simply retrieve the document, you would have all the information that is required for a particular employee, right? Now, any employee is just one example. Certainly you can store any type of data you wish in your document database. Adding the introduction over here is something like what I just want to say is that Mongo DB is a classified as a NoSQL database. So that's the thing what you have to understand over here. If you can see over this example, so each record is a document here, and each record has a line which is composed of the field name and the field value there. Means it's like a field and the value there. And that what you see on the screen here, the field is the name. For example, the field is the name, and you can see over there, the John is nothing but the value what we would be using over here. So this refers to the name part and the value part. Okay, so it is holding something. The same way we also have the field name as the age, and it is holding the value as a 47. And employee type, the employee type is also holding a string value over here. So the data types can be a string or it can be an integer. But they could be in other documents. In other words, you could have a field that says perhaps an office, or it's another document that it points to. So that document gives all the details of that office. So what I meant is that, so this might be holding any other information also. So that's what we would be referring over here, right? Okay. So which you can see over here, there are a certain document or the certain, or maybe what I'm trying to explain over here is that you might be having an array of data, or maybe like an array of integers or multiple strings, that sort of a thing. So that's what comes over here. So this we would be seeing about like how you can deal with a complex of like kind of a document when you place them in a nested format. How does you are actually reducing or eliminating the need of an expensive join. We were using joins right in RDBMS, like it might be your natural join or it might be your inner join, outer join, it can be anything. How you can reduce this, how you can eliminate the usage of working with this expensive join. So we would be just talking about this. What I'm saying about the expense is not like a monetary expenses I'm talking about. This is something where you're talking about the processor, the resources, the memory, what you would be using to make sure that you are still working with your RDBMS approach, and then you're probably like kind of a customer to a data where are distributed in a multiple tables. So that's the thing what I'm trying to refer over here. So as a thing what you have to really understand over here is that the values means the value can have your documents, the value can have an array, the value can have an array of documents. So all these things are kind of the binded. So it can be any kind of a value what you're trying to reach over here depending on the kind of data you want to store over here, right? Okay, so let's go further and we'll just understand more about like what makes a document, what is that which is like a more advantage when you're working with your Mongo. So first of all, like we have already understood that whenever you want a data, for example, an employee, you must have to do an inner join or an outer join or left join or right join. It can be any sort of a join that brings the data from the multiple tables together, right? That we are doing it, obviously, when you're working with your RDBMS approach. Then, when I say that this kind of resources are intensive, and if their resources are intensive, that means that they slow down your queries. The document approach reduces, or in many cases eliminates the need of those. This improves our response time. So that's a dynamic schema, what you can see over here. The dynamic schema is unlike where in your RDBMS or in your relational database models, where you have to establish a schema prior to entering the data for a particular document. First you have to set your identity design. So then only you can just proceed further for either storing the data, retrieving the data. It can be anything. Whenever you want to add a new document, that might have more or fewer field value tags at that particular point of time. the schema is flexible. Let's say like when I started creating my student, at that moment of time, I was knowing only that I want to enter the student ID and I was knowing that I want to enter the student name. Probably I had not thought about what needs to be added further, like maybe an address tag or a marks or attendance. Maybe all of them, what I want to do is that I can just add them at a later point of time. That kind of a flexibility is given when you're working with your MongoDB. So that's what you have to understand, like how does your MongoDB makes your content more dynamic when you are creating your own similar kind of your schema approach there. The next part over here is that it is corresponding to a native data type. It means that the SQL and that your relational database management system have a tendency to have rather an artificial looking data. So what I meant over here is that it might not be really matching to the data what you would be using in your real world. So document data types or document database, what we would be doing here is that since everything is together in a single aggregated that represents as a kind of your entity, more closely corresponds to the real world data usage, right? So that's one of the things what you have to understand over here. Understanding how does your MongoDB would work, or what are the more features what is being oriented with your MongoDB, we'll just see right now in a while. So MongoDB is like a kind of a really versatile low SQL data solution, as I've been saying this from quite a time now. There are some key features that really help it to stand out. What are they? The first and the foremost thing is the MongoDB has a very huge high performance. Now, the MongoDB is very fast and it's very efficient at responding to the queries. It's having a very high performance in a very desirable in a lot of an environment. Like it can be any platform you would be working. It also has a very high availability. Now, the way to accomplish that it is a MongoDB inherently supports a replication and sharding. So that's a very huge concept what we have with the MongoDB. Probably we would be taking about this in a while. Suddenly, you can install your MongoDB on just a single standalone server, or it might be a kind of a meant to work in a clustered environment, or probably like you can install it in your, this can be done in your cloud-like environment also. So that's what makes you have a high availability. So that gives you an automatic kind of a scaling when you have to replicate it, or this is very easy for you to add on an additional service in case if you want to scale up. Whenever you have your additional workload which is probably requiring to do that, in that case a MongoDB will have a very outstanding SQL data store over there. So that's one of the major key feature what we have when you're working with your MongoDB. So we would be just dealing with a data module that would be taken up in the next